Hey, Brambro back with some Grand Tactician Civil War, a CSA campaign in 1.06. Before getting into the campaign, I haven't even loaded up the game actually, but at the end of, well, I don't know if it was the end, at the beginning actually, in episode 1 at any rate, I mentioned something about historic versus random, and how if you go into the random that there's different AI personalities that your opponent may get that drive a lot of their behavior, and that accounts for a lot of the variability that occurs during the game. There's been some comments about that since, including at least one comment that, as far as I could tell, was somewhat skeptical that this exists. So I thought I'd elaborate that just a little bit on these personalities, okay? And they're in the game files. They're in a file called AI personalities.dat, DAT for data. And you can see it. You go to your Grand Tactician in the library, right-click, Properties, Local Files, Browse. And oh, by the way, right here is where you verify the integrity of your game files, for anyone who didn't know how to do that. So browse, and then that brings up, so here's the game files that I have locally on my hard drive. Had to do a little bit of hunting around in here to find these. It's in campaigns, and so there's an A, B, C, D, E, F different folders in here, and there is an AI personalities file in every one of these. I assume this is for the various scenarios, right? Tutorial, Spring 61, Summer 61, 1862, 1863, 1864. I guess that's my inference. Open one of these up. And here you go, AI personalities. We'll just open this up. And right here at the top you see historical. Tries to follow the historical course of the war for Union. And then you scroll down, there's just a bunch of numbers. I assume these are various values that plug into other files, plug into the game to drive those behaviors. Things like policy selections and waiting, recruitment, all those sorts of things. There's quite a bit. I don't know what all these mean. And then there's an industrial personality, focuses on industrialization. You can scroll all the way down here, and occasionally you'll eventually see them all. And there's a set for Union, and there's a set for Confederacy. So to cut down on the scrolling, to make it a little easier to read, I took the liberty of taking those, and here you go. Here's what they are. So we've got that historical personality where the AI tries to follow a historical course of the war for the Union or the CSA. And so I would interpret this as the most, quote, balanced, unquote. But then there's an industrial personality, and most of these are just kind of tied to the subsidy areas, but not all. Industrial, there's an expansionist personality in the place of a political, which focuses on expansion. Militaristic, diplomatic, agriculture, economic, and there's also an abolitionist personality on both sides. There's one for the Confederacy as well, where it will go down that slavery abolition path in the policy tree, which that exists in the CSA policy tree as well. So this top one, if you choose historic, well, historic is what you're going to get. If you choose random, you're going to get any one of 7 other personalities, and that's why you might see kind of a sit around and do nothing AI in one campaign, and then this crazy run around all over the map and, you know, go attack Cleveland and New York, so that might not be, when those things happen, that might not entirely be because of aggression setting. That could also be this expansionist personality coming into play as well. That's a guess on my part. I'm not trying to explain what the AI does under each one of these specifically. Your guess is as good as mine. But just to kind of show that, yeah, these different personalities exist, and historic versus random is how you might get this, or you might get any one of these. And then there's also a couple kind of sub personalities or sub, kind of emergency override. When they run out of men, they go into recruit emergency mode. And then when they run out of credit rating and can't recruit, then they go into this credit emergency mode. I don't know if I've ever noticed an AI run into this first one. But yeah, from time to time in a campaign, you might see that, financial crisis, newspaper headline pop up. And that's probably this credit emergency behavior going into effect. Anywho, I just wanted to show that a little bit about the AI personalities, and let's get into the campaign. Okay, so here we are in the campaign. And, alright, so what's going on? Well, we just finished up this battle right around Winchester. I think it was actually called the Battle of Front Royal Bridge from the last episode. And have not advanced time since that happened. So, who is this? McDowell. McDowell still needs to retreat. On the campaign map, the battle's still going on, I think. Alright. Just came out of that battle and noticed that we had captured a few weapons. I think we got some parrots. I think we got a few more Springfields. We even got a tiny little dollop of Hall's carbines. Not nearly enough. It was like 30 of them. But the parrots, yeah, I've put the parrots in one of the artillery units. I think in Johnston's army. Doled out one or two brigades worth of Springfield rifles. And down here at Atlanta, in Bragg's recruiting command, a few units had shown up, some infantry had shown up, and some more artillery battalions. So those have been kind of sent out. And so now, yeah. So Beauregard's got another infantry brigade and a couple more artillery coming. Johnston has got some artillery. These artillery were actually here already. It's just I was shuffling units around and somehow I managed to make it so that they won't show back up until tomorrow. I don't think that affects the battle that's going on. I hope not. Kind of did a little tinkering with Price's Missouri Army. He's got another brigade coming out to him. And we've also got a 3rd Division established. Somehow under Gideon Pillow. Not sure how I managed that. And same sort of thing. I was moving units around and somehow Slack's artillery is now a day away from where they were already. So we got 6 brigades out here in the Missouri Army now. This is slowly becoming a force where we may go up and start picking a fight with Nathaniel Lyon. It'll be almost 13,000 men when this brigade shows up. All these other units are really already here. Got another brigade coming to Magruder's Peninsula Army. And he'll have 3 artillery soon. I noticed in a previous episode that I said, let's give Magruder another artillery battalion. Which I did. Except I gave it to the Tennessee Army, not to Magruder. And I didn't catch that till I was looking at the video afterward during editing. So, yeah, Magruder's got his 3rd artillery battalion coming. Yeah, this guy, DePonyak. I meant to give it to Magruder. I gave it to Sidney Johnson instead. And Sidney Johnson's got another brigade and another battalion coming. There's our engineers who need to be building a telegraph at Jasper, Alabama. And Bragg's recruiting command. Not all the units which had which we had ordered up had arrived yet. There's more coming. I've started recruiting a little bit of cavalry brigades because some of the armies need some more cav. And this is Lomax's little bitty brigade under Stuart. I just moved Stuart's division back here to Bragg. Lomax lost over 100 men, and he had less than 400 to start with. So I just pulled him back, let him grow a little bit. As a matter of fact, I might even be a little gamey. And I think probably when one of these other brigades shows up, I may just combine them in. It'll take Lomax forever to grow even to a small cav brigade from this. I'm just going to combine one of these units into them. So that's kind of what's going on with the armies. One note about that. Mentioned that we had captured some of these Hall's carbines, which is I think is a new weapon in 1.06. I don't think we had it before that. The Hall's rifle has always been in the game, but now there's the Hall's carbine. And what's interesting about this, and it's not really relevant to this campaign because it's a CSA campaign, but for you guys playing Union, or when you get to play a Union campaign, I haven't opened the game to actually look. I haven't played a Union campaign since in 1.06, but one project, I think it's called the Hall's Carbine, but it enables access to both the Hall's Carbine and the Hall rifle. And so it gives you a really good infantry and a really good cavalry weapon in the same project. So that's, for a Union campaign, that's got to be well worth pursuing. They're older weapons. We've talked about the Hall's rifle in my campaigns before, but if you haven't seen them, I'll just do a quick... it's an older weapon. And the carbine is just, the shortened barrel version. Otherwise, it's the same thing. But the Halls, in the game, it's considered a breech loader. And it's not a true breech loader in the way that one would think of such a thing. And it's an old weapon. It was first introduced in 1819. And it was in use by the U.S. Army through much of the, through the following decades. And they bought quite a bit. Of course, the Army was pretty small. But it was used in the Seminole Wars. I haven't seen a specific mention, but it was probably used in Mexico, I would think. And it did have a pretty high rate of fire. The way this thing worked is that, the breech, you still loaded it the same way from the front. But the breech assembly was on I guess it must have been on a hinge, and you'd fire it just like any other muzzle loading rifle or musket. And then this breech would flip up, and you'd load it just the same way with the powder and the ball separately, except you're only sticking it in a couple of inches instead of all the way down a barrel that's several feet long. And then you just click it back down into place and fire it again. So that's where the rate of fire came from and why it's considered a breech loader, and they do have a pretty good rate of fire in the game. It wasn't particularly popular because with the machining standards of the day in the early 19th century, kind of the tolerances with that moving breech assembly, it was a little loose, a little gappy in there, and so when you fired it, a lot of that propellant powder, you know, the propellant power from the ignition of the powder would escape out the sides, and because of that, they used more powder because it would lose so much oomph when it was fired. So it used a lot of powder. It cannot have been a very pleasant weapon to use, you know, because basically you've got this little mini explosion right in front of your face every time you shoot the damn thing. And for a rifle, it even with the extra powder, it was losing so much power on, you know, just escaping, you know, waste gas out the sides that it didn't have particularly good penetrating power and muzzle velocity, is my understanding. I'm not an expert. My expertise basically is the extent of skimming a Wikipedia article. Anyway, so those weaknesses, though, they're not really reflected in the game, and so the Halls are probably a little bit OP in the game because you're getting the range, you're getting the rate of fire, and you're getting what is it showing? It's showing mediocre accuracy for the carbine version, and I think that the Hall's rifle is, I don't have one here to mouse over, but I'm guessing that the Hall's rifle is probably good. Not very good, but good. But you're getting rate of fire, and I mean, just look at, you know, for a cav weapon, we're getting mediocre accuracy. That's pretty typical of most cav weapons. 350 yards at 7 rounds a minute. Heck yeah. If I could only, you know, if I was told you can only use one weapon and it's got to be the Halls for all your cav, I would be perfectly okay with that in this game. And then on the infantry side, that same project is giving you a pretty similar performance for an infantry weapon. I think that one is actually maybe 8 rounds a minute, 400 yards, and good accuracy. Heck yeah. Take that project and build 50,000 every time that the game lets you. Now, should it be that good? Probably not. They should probably lessen its firepower stat, which is not shown here. It's not shown in the tooltip. But every one of these weapons, including artillery, they have a firepower stat, which is essentially their damage per shot. And kind of the default in the game is 1.0. And the vast majority of weapons are 1.0 weapons. The you know, all these rifles, the Springfields, the Enfields, the Lorens, the Richmonds, they're all 1.0. And so are the Hall carbine and the Hall's rifle. They should probably be a little less, like 0.8, 0.9, something like that. There are a few that are different. The mixed musket is actually 0.9. So not only do you have the crap accuracy and the crap range and the slow reload, but even when it does hit, it does a little bit less damage than the other ones do. And I think I've talked about this before several times. The Springfield musket has got a little bit of a hidden strength because its rate of fire, range, and accuracy are no better than the mixed musket. But the Springfield musket smoothbore has a 1.2 firepower. So short ranged and crap accuracy, but when it does hit, it hits hard. And the firepower stat is not shown here, but that's alluded to in the tooltip there. Inaccurate, but deadly with buck and ball. And what buck and ball is is that you had the regular ball, like any other musket, with some buckshot added with it. so it's firing multiple projectiles, and you're basically turning the damn thing into a big shotgun. And it's a larger caliber. Almost all the other weapons are 0.58 caliber, and the Springfield musket is a 0.69 with buck and ball ammo. We've talked about that before. But as we've seen in the battles up till now, does that mean that, oh yeah, keep some guys with Springfield musket? I'm not. The range, the accuracy, the rate of fire, it is a nice stat on this weapon, but it doesn't overcome all the other shortcomings. And we've just seen too many situations where, in this and previous campaigns, where a brigade will come under fire, and I'm looking at some other part of the field. It happened in the last battle. I didn't even know I had done this until I was going over the video afterward, editing it. But Donelson's brigade last battle was getting hammered by some Federal cavalry in the center, and I was so focused on the left I never picked up on it, and that was a big part of our casualty issues in the last episode. Because Donelson just got curb stomped by Kearney's cavalry without returning fire. Because he was smoothbore armed and Kearney was in range and Donelson wasn't. And I wasn't noticing that he was just getting smacked. And that's where several hundred of our casualties... That one thing probably was the reason why we were higher than the Federals in casualties. Without that, we would have been probably about even. Because I think Donelson took 600, 700, maybe 800 casualties in that battle. And wasn't able to return fire because he was Springfield musket armed. Okay, enough about that. Oh, I mentioned our engineers. I've been kind of neglecting them. They are on their way now to Jasper, Alabama. They're going to build a telegraph station here, and that will connect Montgomery up to Decatur and shorten this telegraph loop in the area. And I have not forgotten our Blockade fleet. They've now got a clear shot, staying away from Union fleets over here along the coast. And they are headed up to Long Island. We're gonna see how many ports they cover from here first, and we'll adjust a little bit when he gets up here. And we'll see how... What was that? There's an Army of New England up here. 2,800 men. Okay. Is that a military academy? It is. Ah, Norwich. Yeah. So, the Union gets some military academies too. I'd forgotten about Norwich. And it's legitimate. It's still there. There's still a Norwich, I think. I wonder if West Point is actually counted. It seems like it would be, right? I mean, West Point didn't stop being West Point just because half of its former students went to... I guess not. I'm not sure. I know it's on the Hudson. I don't remember exactly where on the Hudson it is. I thought it was somewhere fairly close to Albany. Okay, I guess not. I guess there's no West Point. They get credit for a Norwich, but not West Point for the military education of their officer corps. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's about it. I think we're about ready to start advancing time. Don't really have any huge plans. We're just kind of waiting for some more units to show up for Sterling Price and for Sidney Johnston at Louisville. I'd kind of like for Johnston to get up to maybe some higher strength and then come contest Cairo with the Army of the Mississippi. We saw in the intel report that there is also a federal Army of the Tennessee somewhere. We have not caught sight of that. We know the Army of the Mississippi and the Army of Indiana in this area. Oh, there it is. It's up at Chicago. 1,500, well, no men right now, and only 1,500 projected. So there's a small infantry brigade, but they've got the start of another army there. Okay. So as soon as this battle is over, McDowell should be retreating back up into Maryland, and then we've got to get one of these armies up here to recapture Winchester. And then we need to get the other one just on the other side of the Blue Ridge so that we can see where Patterson is. So let's get that rolling. I took a look before I started recording. There's no projects really interesting to do. And nothing I want to use these ag subsidies on yet. Okay, the Union has gone for Militia Act. That must be their Militia Act 3 2-year contracts. That seems like a pretty standard move for historic behavior. Okay, Johnston, get up here and capture Winchester back. And Beauregard, head back over here. Go back and recapture the supply depot yet again. You can just train. That's fine. Oh, Beauregard's already picked up a perk. Ambulance Corps, please. How about, yeah, Johnston too. Ambulance Corps. Yeah. Okay. Once Johnston recaptures this Harper's Ferry supply depot, he should be in fine supply shape. And Beauregard is... pretty soon we'll be drawing from this one, which also has a lot of stuff in it. Okay, that's good. Uh-oh, Army of the Occupation coming our way. With 22,000 men and more brigades coming. Johnston's got 13,000 men right now. Beauregard's got 10,000. Okay. I don't think we're in any shape to fight McClellan right now. Let's give Johnston a halt. and then let's bring him back over on this side. Just going to concede Winchester for the moment. For the moment. This isn't permanent. Okay. I was considering bringing the Peninsula Army up, but I want to get this Fort Monroe thing done too. How's our engineers doing? They're getting there. The Blockader's on the way up to Long Island. Well, now I'm just hoping freaking Johnston gets out of the way in time. Doesn't engage. Kind of prefer him not have to withdraw. And that is a pretty good indicator. He showed up. McClellan showed up quick. I think he was probably already on his way east at the time that we initiated that tactical battle over here. He was on his way over, I think. And looks like maybe he's continuing to advance. Yeah, he is. Bring a Magruder up. To put him in defensive stance, and even though it didn't work out so hot last time, if we get engaged before McClellan, if we get engaged before Magruder shows up, we'll just have a short defensive stand, and even if we do get all three forces into the battle, we'll have more engineering points and can probably set up some pretty nice defenses. And it doesn't, I mean, there's Patterson. Patterson's not moving. So McClellan is coming by himself. I don't think he's going to have anybody reinforcing him. Okay. Johnston is in that. Beauregard is not. Slightly in our favor. But we're already taking more casualties. Okay. Here we go again. Let's pile Beauregard into this. Okay. Beauregard's in that fight now. Magruder's coming up. Okay, it's not reflecting Beauregard's... Is it? It is. It is reflecting Beauregard's force. I guess the game does count it as a siege. Come on, Magruder. Gotta move on. I should have force marched him. $60-40. Yeah, I think it's slightly trending our favor, and this time it's very low, but this time McClellan is taking more casualties. He's got more artillery for the moment. That'll change when Magruder gets up here. I think that'll probably be close enough for Magruder to... It may not be. I'll move him up a little bit. Patterson's not moving. Ostensibly, McDowell's still up here recovering readiness at that supply depot. Let's go see if our engineers are ready to build their telegraph. They are. And our blockaders in place. Just about. Yeah, he's starting to blockade a few already. 18%. It's kind of looking like we may have to scooch him a little bit to the left when he gets up here so he can cover which exactly are these? Come on, mouse pointer. New York Harbor and Newark Port. I'm going to make sure he gets those. It's hard to tell which army those messages are floating up from. I think they're floating up from the from McClellan's force, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Need to move Magruder up a little bit more. Go ahead and force march. Well, get up a little closer, I guess. Closer than that. Okay, I'm a little confused now. How in the world is he not involved in this? Let's just move him right into the here. Go here. That's got to do it, right? Beauregard's actually coming up in readiness despite being involved in a siege. That's interesting. There he goes. Okay, Magruder's in this fight now. Patterson still hasn't moved. How's it looking? Yeah, okay. Magruder's reflected involved. We got 33, almost 34,000 infantry. No cav. No one's got cav yet. We're about even on guns. Okay. 4th Brigade is already broken. Eager. Well, looks like 4th Brigade was the only one engaged. Eager, determined. Well, alright. One unstable brigade here in Ewell's division. Stable. These guys are still recovering from the morale effects of the warfare they've already been involved in. There's the Royal First American in their first combat. So whatever else, even if we don't have a tactical battle here, all of these brigades' first combat modifiers will be cleared here. This is counting. Meanwhile, confident. I'm not seeing any federal units that appear to be engaged or losing morale. It seems odd. Let that percolate just a bit more. Okay, we are covering New York. But not Newark. And we aren't covering New Bedford anyway. So we've got a little bit of, let's see. We do want to, so we need to scooch just enough that we still hit Providence, but we can cover Newark. That's the goal here. And I think if we just come up about a riverhead, if we just come up a little bit like this, I think that'll do it. I don't know. Providence might be on the ragged edge there. But we've got room to scooch back though, because Newark is well within. It's already showing the blockade. Yeah, we just need to tweak it back a little bit. About like, I think that'll do it right there. Yep. So we got a 21% blockade on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ports, 2 of which, Newark and New York, are some of the biggest in the Union entirely. So I think that's about as good a spot for one blockade fleet as can be found in this game for either side. And there he will stay until he's chased off. And if he does get chased off and beat up, who cares? It's just a bunch of little schooners. Making an outsized contribution to the war effort. And let's see, is our engineer done? Nope, he's still working on the telegraph. Has Johnston received all of his units? He has, and he's got over 15,000 men now. Of course, they're armed like crap. I don't think there's a single rifle in that entire army. And Price is still waiting for some more units. Still waiting for that one. Only 2 days until Junius Daniel gets to him. And then he will have 13,000 men. Which doesn't mean he needs to go pick a fight with Lyon up here in this area up here. I don't think that's strategically important to us at the moment. I'm kind of thinking bringing him back down the river to Little Rock and then transporting him over to Tennessee. And then he and then Price and Sidney Johnston can tag team Army of the Mississippi at Cairo. That's kind of what I'm thinking there. $21,000 Army of Northeastern Virginia. And that's the current spot. That's where he is. September 16th. Okay, this is much shifting more heavily in our favor, and casualties are staying low. I mean, casualties are low for McClellan as well, but this thing is trending in the right direction. I think I'm content to let this continue and get out of this with low casualties. And somehow Magruder is in charge of this whole thing instead of Johnston or Beauregard. Okay. Uh-oh, somebody just routed in Beauregard's army. Still about the same odds. This number seems to reset every time the window is opened. So, frankly, I'm not 100% sure what's going on with the casualties. One thing that I didn't really think of during the last episode was we lost, what was it, about 4,400 men there. That did not count I think it was about 3,500 that had been lost in the siege warfare outside Winchester leading up to that battle. So that whole engagement together, that was about 7,000 men. No, 8,000. 8,000 men between the siege and the tactical battle. This ambulance corps perk should help a little bit with these disabled numbers getting back into service. He's got 1,600 wounded right now, most of it from that previous battle. Johnston's got 1,800 wounded. Okay, we're now up to 80-20 on this Manassas siege. Patterson showing no sign of wanting to get involved. I assume that's Patterson. It usually is. I don't think the AI really switches commanders around too much. At least not until it gets core structure. And one of the issues with 1.06 is that the AI has trouble finding the policy project path. Well, it's not a policy anymore. The project to use the core structure. I didn't see them do that in the last campaign. It's too early for this campaign still. But from the Steam discussions that I'm seeing, it's kind of sounding like nobody else is seeing the AI use the core structure either. Because what seems to happen is, like right now, nope, we do have some more. Aha! There's that farm mechanization is ready. Yeah. I'm going to take some of that. It is really, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but it is really tempting to take that cast artillery. No, we need legacy rifles first. I want to get some Mississippi rifles in production. 50,000 of them. I really like the sound of this trade warfare project. And this is one that has a bunch of levels, right? You can keep taking more and more levels of it. Increases the effectiveness of one's own blockades and blockade running against the enemy blockades. So it helps both sides of that. That's gotta be useful, but it's military subsidies. There's just too many other things. I wanted to put in a few levels of this in the last campaign and just never got to a point with military that I felt like I could afford it. Anyway, we took the recruitment offices last time, plus we just popped on a level of farm mech. So here just very soon we're going to take legacy rifles and do a big batch of ordering Mississippis and planes. Matter of fact, it'll probably be just within a day or two. Aha! Conscription! Okay, so we don't need to worry about contract lengths anymore. They're all 36 month now. And here's how I'm going to play this. Every army I am now going to set on draft-only replacements. For one thing, we've got a lot more draftees than we do volunteers, and that's how the existing brigades, which are all still considered volunteer brigades. Okay, they're all 36 months now, but they're all volunteers. Their strength is going to get plussed up using draftees, but they're still considered a volunteer brigade, so you don't get that morale hit on the battlefield. It's a little gamey, but that's how it works. They don't model down below that. They don't try to keep track of the proportion of how many guys are volunteers, how many are draftees, how many are armed with Mississippis, how many are armed with mixed muskets, how many guys are from Virginia, how many guys are from Alabama. You know, the brigade is where that is modeled, and so they're all from one state. They're all one type of soldier, either vol or draft, and they all have one weapon. It's just how the game models the units. Which means that there's some kind of shaky, kind of gamey things you can do with that, with combining brigades and everything. But it's just how the game is. And as far as I've ever been able to tell, I don't think they have a plan or an intent to fix that. It's just kind of the way the game's designed, and they're just going with it. And to be fair, the AI can do the same thing. Which is something that they could do. It would probably be a lot easier to program the AI so that it would do things like use draft-only replacements, or combine units in such a way that, some Mississippi rifles just magically appear out of thin air. So anyway, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to go D on all these guys, and that way we save the volunteer manpower pool for creating new units. And all of our attrition losses, our casualty replacements, and just growing the smaller brigades, that comes out of draft manpower. Let's see. I guess the same logic works for the recruiting command. Yeah, we'll go draft on him as well. We do have a cavalry brigade that has shown up. And here's okay, so here we go. I'm about to do something cheesy, I think. We'll see how it works out. I'm going to take 1,800 men from Colquitt, and I'm going to drag them into Lomax's brigade, which is currently 300 men, armed with Maynards. They were so small, I had enough Maynards for them. So we're going to drag Colquitt over. Voila. Somehow, 1,800 Tennesseans armed with mixed cav weapons became 1,800 Virginians armed with Maynards. And Lomax is now a viable unit So I'm going to put Iverson, which is a recruited unit, put him back over here in this kind of recruiting cavalry division. And Stewart's Cav is ready to go back to an army, which I will do as soon as this... Well, I don't see any reason to wait for the... Yeah, I'll wait till the battle's over. The siege, where we are up to 88 to 12. Oh, we got, yeah, there's Yankees breaking now. 3 broken. There's a nervous brigade here. A nervous brigade here. This cav is down to stable. This brigade is nervous. Schleich is unstable. Rosecrans, nervous. Morris, nervous. This is not going to last much longer. And I don't think we've taken... It's hard to tell because this number seems to reset every time you open, but I think we're getting out of this with relatively few casualties. Given the trend of the past couple battles, probably certainly much lower than it would have been if we'd done a tactical battle here. That hasn't been going well for us on the casualty front. We've been winning them, but they've been pretty, you know, they've been Pyrrhic victories. As I said after one of them, too many wins like that is a good way to lose a war. So I'm pretty content with this. Then once this is done, now McClellan's probably, you know, he's got IIPs over here. I think he's probably only going to retreat as far as Winchester, most likely, unless he heads up toward DC. That's possible too. When that happens, we're going to run Joe Johnston right behind him as fast as he can go, which doesn't seem to be very fast as far as I can tell, and to push him further, make him fall back some more, and then we'll see if we can recapture Winchester. Oh, wait. I need to pick a policy. We did the conscription, so I lost a few days on that shit. Okay. So we don't need the contract length, but we still need to grow the manpower. Specifically the volunteer manpower pool as well. No, I think we can hold off on that. We need to start working on other stuff. We're at BBB plus. I'm trying to decide between the government funding and the industry. Let's go ahead and get the industry subsidies flowing a little bit better as well. Let's go industrialization 1. And then I think I will follow that with Militia Act 2. And then we'll pop over for government funding 1. Now all that's not going to increase credit rating in itself. But what it will do is get some more economic subsidies flowing, and it will unlock Tariff Act. And I think I want Tariff Act. That helped a lot in the last campaign. That'll bring in some more revenue. And it will also unlock Impressment Act, which I think is pretty useful as well. We lose a little bit of support, but we get yet more recruit buff from that. And cost of supplies drops. So that will help. Yeah. We'll do the industry. Actually, I think from industry, I may just pop straight to government funding. Does anything else come up for projects? Legacy rifles. Yes, please. I wish it would sort by category like this by default. And if I leave it, you know, or alternatively, once I click this, just make this persistent. You know, keep it sorted by subsidy type when I bring it up again. Yeah, even in the future save game, you know. Okay, legacy rifle. Which means we need to actually order the darn things. Weapons. And I'm going full bore. I'm buying as many as I can. So when you first start out with these weapons, you see they all have standardization 0 or obsolete. But the ones that are available are standardization 0. And so you improve the standardization by placing orders. And the bigger the order, the more it improves the standardization. And what this standardization does for you is the higher the standardization, the quicker the orders will come. So if you put in a big order, it'll take forever. But then when they're delivered, that standardization has come up, and your next order will come significantly faster. Like you can see here, I put in that order for these 24-pound howitzers. No, never mind. They're up to 80, which is super high for standardization. However, the 12-pound howitzers are 80 also, so I guess they were just 80. How long do we have until we get these anyway? 13 days, and we're going to have a bunch of howitzers. That makes Bram a happy camper. What was I doing? I was ordering Mississippi's. Yeah. They're $577 a piece, which means this is probably going to be like 20 million. 29 million? Okay. It's going to take almost 6 months. So what is that? We're in September. We're talking March 1863 before these things actually show up. Well, I mean, it is what it is. But the size of that order is going to jump that standardization up. And the next batch of Mississippi's will be a lot shorter. It'll be more like 3.5 months instead of almost 6. So let's get a bunch of those. And let's get some planes also. Same. Let's look and see how far away are our reboards. Okay, they're still almost 2 months away. See, we cut the order in half. We're not shaving that much. That only shaves 20, 26, 27 days off of the delivery time. It's still forever. That's about 4.5 months. That's about 5 months and change. I really don't want to wait till March to finally be able to give my guys a bunch of I'm going to do 10,000 planes, just so that there's a few more coming a little faster. We'll do 25,000. Okay, those are ordered. Let's just kind of... I put the Parrots out. I did not put the Napoleons out. Somewhere, I think I've probably got a battery small enough to take those. And after the last battle, and I put out some Springfield rifle muskets. After I did that, I had 1.3K. Somewhere we've picked up 1,000 Springfields just since I've been running time in this episode. That can only be from capturing some Springfields during this siege battle, not upon its conclusion. So that's interesting. More Yankees routing. And we've just issued some debt with those huge rifle orders. And we've dropped from BBB plus to BBB. And there we go. McClellan is retreating. Apparently we captured some more rifles and 0 guns. Yeah, all these numbers are pretty low. They lost 860 men. We lost 360. Okay. Some rearguard action going on here. Okay. Well, it's kind of backwards, but Peninsula Army is actually the army that... There, do it that way. They're the ones with the best readiness. So let's have Peninsula Army come up here to Winchester, and that should be pressuring McClellan to retreat as well. Not really trying to catch McClellan, just to make him keep moving so that the way is clear and we go capture Winchester. That's what the goal is here. Except he's not going that way. He's going up to Maryland. Which we are recapturing. Okay, let's check our engineer. You done with your telegraph? You are. So let's get you headed over to... Okay, we've got we should have a telegraph here at Memphis. We do. So if we put a telegraph station about at Batesville, that should be pretty... Well, wait a minute. We're not operating up here. Okay. Well, let's go have a telegraph station placed at... I don't know if Little Rock is going to reach. Yeah. we're going to have to put an intermediate station. Can't build one at Little Rock. Helena will work. So let's tell the engineers to go to Helena, Arkansas. I need to turn that telegraph radius off at Memphis. Sometimes you click on something and it pops you right back down to like this level, and then other times it doesn't. Okay, we're just going to run time long enough to capture Winchester. Oh, Leesburg is a Union IAP. So that's where McClellan retreated to. It's as far as he's going to go. Uh-huh. Okay, October 1st, we have a new Econ and Intel report. Let's see what those say. Yeah, our debt increased by 75 mil. Yeah. Debt's up to 265. We've dropped to BBB, mediocre. Expansion. Private wealth, still mediocre and increasing. Good. Little, fairly small drop in tax revenues. No buildings. Imports and exports growing. The ratio of the trade imbalance appears about the same. Corporate production fell a little bit. Now apparently we're okay on what was, I think, forage. We're short of wool and food and iron. How is our industry subsidy doing for the iron mine? Not too hot. And to upgrade right now, it would still cost 18 million. Okay, so we're not real close on that. However, we're working on the industrialization policy, so the rate of industry subsidies is going to double when that occurs. So that'll pick up fairly soon, and that'll get more iron flowing. What about Intel? Okay, they're working on, they did Militia Act 3, we saw that, and they're working on Militia Act 4. And they have completed civil order and recruit agents. I am not against that. Those don't strike me as the best possible use of their subsidy money, so okay. You know, he put military subsidies into both of those, which means he was not getting any weapons projects or anything like that. 10,000 more men recruited and 4 brigades. He's raised a bunch more squadrons. Yeah. 19 new ships. We'll see if any of this actually does something against our blockade fleet. I'm skeptical that they are. Their army morale has dropped. That makes sense with the siege we just had in Manassas, and they are consolidating and regrouping for now, which means it should be pretty quiet. It should be a pretty quiet October. And so the next stage of this campaign, we've got some men starting to come in here. That draft really opened up the spigots on replacements going to the existing brigades. Yeah, we've got 250 men. 250,000 men available as drafts. So I think the size of our armies is definitely going in the right direction now. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and capture Winchester and make sure that we have possession of that first, because then that will exert some control on IIPs in this area. And then we will go hit McClellan, hopefully while he's unsupported, and drive him out of Virginia. Now these other, because of McClellan's presence, it looks like Harper's Ferry, these would be flipping back Confederate if he wasn't there. And also possibly because of, we know that McDowell's up here. He could be doing that as well. Well, Harper's Ferry is. Sometimes the game gets confused right when things shift. Okay, I think that will do for this episode. If you like what we're doing with the channel, then leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe. But at any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.